So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the US will not entertain a UK trade deal that risks the Good Friday Agreement, and I think what he means really is that the US will not talk about a trade deal with the UK so long as the UK is kind of threatening the Good Friday Agreement. US Congressman Richard Neal says peace deal must not be held hostage over domestic politics. A bilateral trade deal between the US and the UK is desirable, but will not progress while Northern Ireland peace process is being used for domestic political purposes. One of the most powerful American congressmen have warned, and he's been around for a while. Richard Neal, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, has told The Guardian, "We will not entertain a trade agreement if there is any jeopardy to the Good Friday Agreement." And the Express and the Mail simply did not talk about what Richard Neal said, given he's very influential in trade deals, trade negotiations. A bilateral trade agreement with the UK is desirable. There's no question about that. I'm very open to that. What I'm not open to is holding the Good Friday Agreement hostage over domestic politics. Neal, who has taken a keen interest in Northern Ireland over the last 3 decades, during the Troubles, really, or towards the end of the Troubles, really, he would have a lot of knowledge about how important the Northern Ireland the Good Friday Agreement is. He's a key figure in the US trade deals and negotiated the US-Mexico-Canada deal. And again, the Ways and Means Committee is very important to this. They're the ones that are going to deal with it. His committee writes trade bills, and without its support, a deal would not be approved. And, there was an interview, I don't know if I covered it, where effectively Daniel Hannan talked about how a UK-US trade deal is potentially gonna happen, and how people in Congress have been discussing it. And then there was a gentleman there from the Means and Ways Committee who said, "No one's talking about this. I'm on that committee. What are you talking about?" And then Daniel Hannan kind of just shrinks down. The arrogance of a lord, destroyed within seconds, really. In an exclusive interview from Washington, he denounced those who say the Brexit deal has killed the Good Friday Agreement. It's not the Brexit deal that has killed the Good Friday Agreement, it's really the Tories and unionists, radical unionists, on the grounds that unionists did not consent to the arrangement negotiated with the EU. He says, "We are concerned that the protocol is being used to hold the Good Friday Agreement hostage," he said. "The argument being applied by some is reckless and demagogic." Neal's comments come a day after Trade Minister Catherine Tai dashed hopes for an immediate post-Brexit trade deal, saying it wouldn't be worth the years of blood, sweat and tears over. Essentially, it wouldn't be worth the hassle. Neal said he had personal reassurances from both the Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis, again a person I wouldn't trust, and Boris Johnson, definitely a person I wouldn't trust, on a recent trade trip to Washington. And there's no desire to jeopardise the Good Friday Agreement. And again, they'll tell you there's no desire to jeopardise it, but effectively they will do it. I think they would do it if they felt like they had to keep political power. While he went back and forth with Lewis, Neal said he had a good meeting, and they both agreed it was not healthy for political parties to suspend government while they disagreed on legislative detail, a reference to the DUP pulling out of Stormont. And so, Boris Johnson's the kind of guy who'll tell you what you want to hear. So I don't know how savvy Richard Neal is. I hope he is, but I would keep an eye on the situation if I were him. No doubt he is. Neal confirmed he has considered leading an American delegation to Dublin and London to reinforce his message about the peace deal and stability in Northern Ireland. He said the peace deal was precious, hard-won, and should be celebrated as a template for negotiations around the world with significant compromises, both sides paving way for long-term peace, and it has held up just about. And the simple fact is, certain parties that didn't back the Good Friday Agreement, now suddenly it's all they care about. Now suddenly all they talk about. It's very strange. 2 generations of children have grown up in a different atmosphere than what the North looked like 30 years ago. I think we need to remind everyone of the risks and the chances that were taken by all parties to get the Good Friday Agreement. We should be celebrating it as a template for the world order. He pointed out that in the referendum south of the border, the Republic of Ireland agreed to change Articles 2 and 3 of the Constitution, which laid claim to the 6 counties in Northern Ireland, while the UK relinquished the hard border. So both sides had to give up a lot to get the Good Friday Agreement. The last thing we want to do is jeopardise that spectacular agreement, he said. The dispute over Northern Ireland was one of the longest in the history of the Western world, which is something I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know that until I read this article. And Neil said, we came up with an agreement. That agreement has lasted 24 years and it has received great scrutiny. He added he had heard no argument so far that suggested there would be a quid pro quo of the protocol for changes in the Good Friday Agreement, which I didn't really understand what he meant there. He said like there would be, no one is... he's saying there would be a quid pro quo for the protocol for change to the Good Friday Agreement. So would they change the Good Friday Agreement if they could make changes to the protocol? I wonder if he said there would be no quid pro quo. I think it's a bit of a strange one to end the article on, but the simple fact is he's saying there will be no UK deal if the Good Friday Agreement is jeopardised, and if it's even at risk of really being at jeopardy, which the situation is dire in Northern Ireland, which I'll talk about at some point. I think Max will cover it a lot more. So you should follow his channel if you don't do so. But anyways, look, this guy, very very powerful. It's called Ways and Means Committee. He's one of the ones that are going to help decide US future trade policy, so long as he's on that committee. And it doesn't matter what Joe Biden really says, because of the American decentralized system. You have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's not like how it is in Britain. And the simple fact is, even if Joe Biden wanted a US-UK trade deal without Congress being on board, it's not going to happen, especially not without the Ways and Means Committee being on board, and Richard Neal is part of that. There are, I think, other senior Irish figures that are part of that as well, or sort of Irish-American figures on that committee. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.